Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's Twilight Zone in Path of Exile. We are at the end of one league before the start of another league, and people are at their highest point of anticipation. The greatest amount of bewilderment, the most excitement, the most hype, the most anger, the most resentment, every emotion you can possibly imagine. Somebody's got that feeling right now about the game. I've been checking out the forums. I'm sure you have too. There's been a whole lot of craziness going on right now. We are about to enter patch 3.18, and a whole lot of big news has been dropped in the reveal. One of the biggest pieces of news is brand new Atlas passives, Keystones, doubling down on Atlas passives. Me personally, I'm super hype about the divination card altars for duplication of divination cards in map-specific. 4 map-specific divination cards, as well as either global or map-specific cards that are dropping from the Eldritch Minions. I can't wait to test that and see how that goes. A lot of people are either really excited or really dragged about the fact that no changes were done to characters. Apparently, the POB won't even need to be updated because everyone's character is going to be exactly the same as it was before. Or is it? So Chris Wilson has said there are no changes to anyone's build. It should perform basically exactly the way it did before. And then he dropped the bomb, especially when the patch notes came out. Nemesis modifiers getting ripped out of the game entirely. So that's every single Headhunter buff you've ever had no longer exists and is now being replaced by quote-unquote more powerful Arch Nemesis buffs, which sounds great, right? Except the ultimate bombshell piece of news was the line in the patch notes that said items like Headhunter and Inspired Learning can no longer stack the same Nemesis, or in this case Arch Nemesis buff, on itself. No more than one copy of each buff is allowed. Oh my God, there went the neighborhood. That was it. Now, you guys know me, you watch my channel, you watch my stuff, you pretty obviously know that I utilize Headhunter quite a bit. It was a lot of fun. I used it more than most. I milked it for everything it was worth. The only people who got more value out of it than me last season would have been actual five-way carry farmers. And on that note, in all reality, they definitely received a nerf. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Headhunter primarily. That's the big news that we're going to discuss. I'm going to break this video up into kind of 3 parts. Part 1 will be mostly about kind of the facts and the ground. There are some things we know currently at this time. I'm kind of snapshotting this. This is May 8th, by the way. So what I'm saying on here, and this video is definitely going to be for the here and the now. It may not stand the test of time very well because a lot of what's going on right now and what I'm going to discuss is about the conjecture surrounding all the buffs and nerfs and or quote-unquote nothing changing that's going on right now. So part 1 is going to focus on things we know, and then the larger category of things we just don't know yet. Yeah. So that's the way that is. Part 2, I'll kind of ease into sort of my thoughts on it and how I'm perceiving the information that I've seen so far and trying to present that information to you and sort of where I'm going as far as my direction on my league start, any changes, any sort of mindset alterations I've had about league starting, aiming to get a Headhunter. Am I even still trying to get a Headhunter? I'm going to answer some of those questions to help give you guys some insight on that. And then part 3 will be, I think, the most important part of this video, because I mentioned in a previous video that I wanted to go in and find out what these Arch Nemesis modifiers are so we could get a better handle on figuring out whether we're going to get nerfed or buffed or somewhere in between, or some people getting nerfed, some people getting buffed, depending on your playstyle. I really want to get a better handle on that and kind of have to dig into the numbers to see that. And I found the numbers, or so it would seem. Yeah, and so that is going to be on what you're seeing here on the screen right now. Evidently there is a post that somebody posted here where they asked a question, again, with all the people in all their emotional stress is Headhunter finally dead after new rare modifier change? And there is a fellow community player named Dead and Livin' who posted something quite insightful for me. A website that used to be on my radar, but isn't so much anymore. I'll click this at a later time. We'll get into it, but it's called www.vhpg.com. Now, I used to use Path of Exile fandom, but is now an outdated website, been replaced by Path of Wiki, the wiki site. But that one's still, under a lot of construction and needs more updates. Is missing quite a bit of information. PoEDB also has always been pretty good, and in my opinion, probably been maybe the most accurate website, but also sometimes, like I said right here, lacking details. But then there's this website here, which is kind of like a wiki or a PoEDB, somewhere in between, has different pieces of information. Sometimes does present some of the details that are missing on the other websites, and in this case, it kind of hit a home run here, I think, because it's actually the one website that appears to have in-depth mathematical numbers based on Arch Nemesis modifiers. Now, I don't know if they're correct, but I assume they are. I don't have any real reason to believe that they would be entirely correct, at least not in a gross estimate. So here's part one. Part one is what we do know, what we don't know. So we do know that Headhunter is not changing. So when Chris Wilson said there are no buffs, there are no nerfs, technically he's not lying. But it is a pretty deceitful truth, in my opinion, for him to have said that and then come out later with the line saying, oh, we're going to do all these insanely huge changes that have massive ramifications on items like Headhunter, Replica Headhunter, and Inspired Learning, as well as things like Mage Bloods, which would be alternatives, depending on your thoughts on what you think is happening with the nerfs and the buffs and how you feel about it. But as far as facts on the ground, we do know that no changes are being done to any of those items. Just that the Nemesis modifiers that we all know are being taken out of the game, many of them being useful, many of them being kind of small, incremental. A lot of rare monsters have tons of different modifiers on there, so you get tons of Headhunter buffs, 100, 200, maybe in 5 ways you get 300, 400, I'm not exactly sure. But I sometimes see, especially on like a triple Beyond map, I will get over 100 Headhunter buffs, and it makes a huge difference for me. So I am feeling some type of way about the changes, believe you me. But what we don't know is, for example, are the Arch Nemesis modifiers really altogether going to compete with the Headhunter modifiers if they can't be stacked beyond that? Well, we don't really know the answer to that. A lot of people are saying that there's no way it can, because the fact that they stack means, the ceiling of power creep is so high that, it couldn't possibly touch it. But some people are saying the Headhunter is going to be even better for people who have more casual builds, kill more slowdown. I think that's absolutely true. At least on paper it should be true. One thing we know is that they're condensing the number of modifiers on rares, so they're going to have a smaller number of modifiers. So when a Headhunter steals, it steals like 2 to 4 modifiers on there. It's not going to feel like just 2 to 4 little modifiers. They're going to be, there's a lot of different hidden modifiers inside those Arch Nemesis mods, I have now learned from this website that we're going to take a glance at here in a moment. So with that, it may not be so bad. Do we know what's better, Inspired Learning or Headhunter now? Well, we don't know for sure exactly. It kind of depends on a lot of factors. And another thing we don't know is whether or not, or to what extent GGG is changing the Arch Nemesis modifiers, because they're not releasing that information. We don't even know if they're going to release that information at all. We may just have to test it all out on our own to figure that out. Do we know if Inspired Learning plus Mage Blood is going to be better than Headhunter was now? We don't know. Do we know if Replica Headhunter is going to be now in play? Because magic monsters may get specific Arch Nemesis modifiers that rare monsters can't get? Are they going to split them between magic and rare, or can both of them get all of them? We do know that magic monsters are going to be able to receive just one Arch Nemesis modifier, no more than one, and that rares can receive 2 up to 4, but maybe some are being isolated and exclusive to specific mob types, or magic or rare, and we don't really know the answer to that. So again, it's a whole lot we don't know, and my guess, so this is kind of getting into part 2 now, my guess is that I think Headhunter is actually going to be in a better place than most people think. Just kind of judging on the community's feel for this. Now, people who know a lot about Headhunter, I'm getting the feeling that right now in the community, something like 20% of the community thinks it's either going to be a good change or okay, and like 80% of the community thinks that it's either going to be a bad change or like horrible, like nerf hammer, maximum slamming value, like just completely erased it from the game. Headhunter is the most enduring chase unique in the game. I don't think it's going to suddenly just be absolute trash. I don't think there's any way that's going to be the case. Along the lines of things we're not 100% sure until very recently. I wasn't really sure if physical to elemental conversion was going to be still in play, because that was a specific buff modifier that was extremely valuable to me, and if it's suddenly gone, then maybe physical to elemental conversion is not a really big thing anymore. But I think we have found the answer to that in recent with this website that I'm about to show you. So I'm more optimistic, basically. Long story short, I'm more optimistic. I think it's going to be fine. I'm in the camp of the 20% right now. I think I don't think it's going to be an outright buff for me in the way I was playing, but I don't think it's I think it's going to feel like a very small nerf, in my opinion. So let me show you why that is, because here we go. I'm going to show this website here, and this actually has the stats for each individual Arch Nemesis mod, and I'm under the impression that some stats are missing. This is actually incomplete, but what is listed here I suspect is accurate to the best of its ability. So let's go through. I want to actually go through each and every one of them. So this is part 3 of the video. We're going to go through each and every single one of these Arch Nemesis modifiers. We're going to see what they all give here. So one thing, again, we don't know for sure is if the recipe combination modifiers, like this one, Heralding Minions, for example, is Dynamo plus Arcane Buffer. Is it even going to exist? Is Empowering Minions going to exist, which is a 3-way, like 2 layers deep recipe? Or are just the baseline ones going to exist? Well, we don't know for sure. We don't know the commonality of them existing. Maybe Heralding Minions exist, but is extremely rare. Maybe Dynamo and Arcane Buffer, you see it almost every single monster. Well, we don't know. But let's go through them here. We got Heralding Minions here. It says blocks attacks and spells. What, like 100% chance? I don't know. It's missing that information. 30% increased damage. Okay, well, that's an additive 30% increased damage. Pretty small, but okay, fine. That's what that does. I'm obviously much more interested in this line, to what extent it blocks attacks and spell damage. Here we got Empowering Minions. Okay, that's not really going to mean much for me, although I do like running an Animate Guardian. Monster Minion modifiers, extra life, extra damage. How much extra life? I guess nobody knows yet. So it looks like they put in the information they're aware of. They just don't know the actual numbers. Assassin. Now this one is far more descriptive. Has a lot of real numbers on it. All hits are critical strikes hidden. Okay, that is a diamond shrine. That's extremely powerful to any kind of crit build. 50% to critical strike multiplier against enemies that are on full life. That's pretty big. Pretty big. Take no extra damage from critical strike. That's actually pretty huge right there. 100% global chance to blind enemies on hit. That's kind of insane, honestly. So it's going to make me feel a lot better about not having anywhere near capped evasion. So last season I had like 80% evasion. by default, which, you know, scaled up with Headhunter buffs a lot. But at any rate, having 100% global blind chance would be pretty good. 100% increased blind effect. Oh my god. So I feel like that's going to take me from 80% dodge to cap, which is 95% dodge. I'm pretty sure that would take you all the way to cap. Maybe. We have Trickster here, 100% chance to suppress spell damage. Well, that doesn't really mean anything to someone who already has 100% chance. But this next line does. Prevent 20% of suppressed spell damage hidden. That's freaking monstrous. Because I'm pretty sure that's additive with 50%. And then I get an extra 3% from the passive tree. So I could potentially have 73% spell suppression. Like not chance, but actual amount of spell suppression. The value of it. That's crazy. Non-damaging ailments reflected. Okay. That's cool, I guess. I don't know if that works if you're already immune to elemental ailments, but oh well. Necromancer, 30% increased maximum life. That's a pretty big number. That's nice. Gain 10% of non-chaos damage is extra chaos damage. Okay, so I guess that's going to be a final conversion of chaos damage. Sounds okay. Yeah, I think it's not really a 10% damage buff because it will be totally outshined by like omniscience minus or enemies take extra damage modifiers, you know, like elements, so it's not going to apply to chaos. But to anyone who is, well, and actually no, I can't really think of a case where this is truly an outright 10% more damage. So it's whatever here. We got rejuvenation, regenerate 3% life per second. Okay, that's decent. Pretty high value. 20% increased life. You know, I'm not going to complain about that. Maybe it does even more than that, but anyway, that's okay. Executioner cannot recover life or energy shield above 50%. Now, presumably, after you read through a few of these, you realize that what this actually applies to is the enemies. So most of them apply to the player, but some of these apply to the enemies. So I think what this means is enemies can no longer regenerate or recover life above 50%. And I would have thought that Executioner gives Culling Strike automatically, but I guess not. Hexer, Hexproof. Okay, nice to have. Doesn't really mean anything. Droughtbringer. Again, this is one that's going to apply to the enemies. Flasks gain 9% or 9 charges everything hidden. I don't think it's going to mean anything when the player has this buff. Regenerate 1.5% life per second. Good. 100% chance to remove flask effect on hit. I think that's not going to mean anything from our end because enemies don't have flasks, right? Always remove charges on hit. Okay, that will mean something because enemies can have charges sometimes. Entangler, poison on hit. All damage hits can poison. 40% chaos resistance. This is actually pretty big for me because I like running with 0% chaos res. So I like the fact that I don't have to invest as much in the chaos res, but I'll sometimes or frequently actually have a little bit of chaos res, so that I feel pretty good about that. Temporal Bubble, another one that affects enemies. 45% action speed reduction, presumably when they're in the Temporal Bubble. Now, Temporal Bubble is actually crazy strong, and I'd be surprised for them if they left that at its normal iteration, because, you know, you can look at the second line and then the third line. Okay, so cooldown, recovery rate reduction. So this all applies to enemies. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure that projectile is also very slow in there, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, let's move on. Treant Horde. Now, this is one people think is just going to get removed because it doesn't really make any sense for players. But here we go. These start getting really spicy here. So we got Frost Strider, 50% of damage converted to cold damage. Well, okay. By the way, the gem conversions override anything like this, so this isn't going to like ruin my conversions or whatever. I can still use Trinity for sure, even if I have a buff like this. 50% increased cold damage hidden. Nice. Gain 50% of physical damage is extra cold damage. So if you weren't aware, I do believe the old Nemesis modifier, the one that stacked a whole bunch, was gain physical is extra elemental, lightning, cold, fire, I think it was 25% for each stack. So that's a lot. Obviously, they can stack up to some crazy amount, like 1,000 or even 2,000% gained as extra damage potentially. But this pack's quite a punch. At just one stack, it's 50% physical gains, extra cold res, which I guess probably not going to really matter. Immune to cold ailments. Okay, 200% increased effective chill. That's kind of wild. Okay. Imagine a self-chill build. Here we got Ice Prism, which this is interesting because remember how I said the buffs are not going to stack, right? So I can't get 2 iterations of Frost Strider, but you could presumably get Frost Strider and Ice Prison at the same time. Guess what? Ice Prison also gain 50% physical damage as extra cold damage. So that's effectively 4 stacks of the old buff. Plus 50% increase cold damage, which is a lot of additive damage. 25% additional physical damage reduction. I wonder how this actually works, because these numbers are scaled way too high on some of these. I can't imagine, what are you going to have, 100% physical damage reduction, like easily with the Headhunter? I'm sure they're tinkering around with the numbers, but I don't see any reason why they would nerf this line right here. Again, this is the line I care about the most, honestly. Of course, Ice Prison has a unique animation where it builds an Ice Prison round, and so many people complaining about this, like, oh my god, I'm gonna trap myself, can't even get in and out. Oh, I'm gonna have to use dash or whatever. Well, guess what? Raider just got even better, because 100% phasing, baby. And Deadeyes were getting away with not even needing phasing on their mapping in any way, shape, or form. So now they're going to either have to get an Abyss Jewel, or they're going to have to get a couple points, and it's not even going to be up 100% reliably with that either, because you can't. Raider is going to be the only class that can have like permanent uptime on phasing, as far as I'm aware. So Ice Prison is not going to bother me one bit. I'll just phase right through it. Apparently, you can just phase right through it. Good for me. Soul Eater. Okay, now this is one of the most powerful ones. Here we go. This is arguably the most powerful stolen buff in the game, current iteration, and it looks like it's going to be even stronger. And I don't think this one. I don't know if this one stacks or not. It may or may not stack. But anyway, let's see in here. I don't think it stacks, because it's like it has a cap on it or something like that. So. But just in its own right, Soul Eater, even just one iteration of that buff, the old version, is still crazy. Grants character size. Okay, that doesn't actually mean anything. 5% increased attack speed per death. Okay, it stacks up to like at least 20 times. Grants 5% increased cast speed. Yeah, and 5% increased damage reduction to aura owner on death. What? Okay, if that stacks 20 times, that's 100% damage reduction. What? Really? Is that a thing? Nah, I can't imagine leaving that in at that current iteration. Flame Strider. Here we go. So Flame Strider is the same thing as Frost Strider. I'm not going to go into it real big. All your hits ignite. Okay. 50% physical damage is extra fire. Oh, all right. I like that. The same thing happened with Flame Strider. Connect down to Magma Barrier. Apparently is the same deal. 50% increased. So we're already looking at 100% physical damage as extra fire. Obviously, there will be 100% cold as extra fire. In total, there will be 100% lightning or 100% fizz as extra lightning. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. Fizz is extra cold. Fizz is extra fire. Fizz is extra lightning. A total of 300%, at least so far. And I don't think we're even done with this yet. Corpse Detonator. This could be crazy strong if it actually detonates. If it's a detonate dead, it just happens constantly. Also has 60% fire res, I guess. Evocationist. 75% all res. Okay. Hits always shock. Hits always freeze. All damage, shock, all that. Okay. I'm down with that. Sure. That sounds actually pretty nice. Mirror image is busted. It's probably getting changed, removed, or reworked or something. There's Storm Strider. This one gets into the thing about, all immune to shock. Actually, I thought it would say all damage shocks, but maybe not. Anyway, again, Fizz is extra lightning by a factor of 50%. Mana Siphoner. I don't know. That is the secondary version of the Fizz extra lightning, as far as what I'm concerned with. Corruptor is corrupted blood on hit. I don't know. That could either be crazy strong or not really. Probably doesn't scale, so probably not all that good. Invulnerable. Extra damage, blocks attacks. To what extent? We don't know, okay? There's still a lot of things we don't know, but some of the numbers are here. Crystal Skin, 50% all res. Gain physical is extra damage of a random element. Hidden. All right, well... Now we're at a total of 350% Fizz gained as extra elemental damage. Empowered elements, that could be even more of it. We don't know. Effigy, unknown what that does. Now, I don't know if like some of these bigger ones are in here or not, but they add a whole bunch of damage, just additive damage, resistances, and physical damage reduction. Again, I don't know if this scales multiplicatively, additively, or what, but this is insane. Like Brine King Touch, 20% additional physical. So I'm skeptical as to whether like Brine King Touched and Innocence Touched will even appear as monster modifiers on their own right. But imagine that'd be pretty badass actually if players got Innocence Touch. I assume it wouldn't scale worth a damn anyway, but just physical damage reduction by percentage points, like all across the board. Like, are we just going to get tons of that? Kitava Touch, 30% Chaos Res. Thank you. I am going to have an extra 70% Chaos Resistance sometimes. Badass. Nice. Honestly, it feels like there's more additive percent increased damages with these changes. I could be wrong, but wow, that's a lot. 100% chaos resistance against damage over time. That's where it matters. Anyway, Toxic's not going to really mean anything for me. Otherwise, Chaos Weaver plus 10 to maximum chaos resistance. Okay, that's just crazy. Again, physical damage converted to chaos. Don't have to worry about it. It cannot override the other. It cannot override the gem, and I don't think it would override the Watcher's Eye, which I used anyway. Gain non-chaos is extra chaos. I mean, it's going to be extra damage, but it's not going to really be like a real 20% more damage. Okay, and then we got Frost Weaver. So here we go. All right, so this is Frost Weaver, another gain physical. So look at this. Look at this, guys. This is where's it at here? Let me pull it up here. It started getting interesting. Oh, so we got Frost Strider, Ice Prison, and Frost Weaver. All of them give 50% gain fizz as extra cold. And then Permafrost, which does not do that actually, but just kind of everything freezes apparently. Extra freeze duration. Okay, I'll take that. Hasted. This is, of course, a big one that will no doubt be in the game, and obviously a very strong one. So this is the first one we've seen that actually increases movement speed. This is one of my biggest concerns, is that compared to the old Headhunter stackable buffs and the new one, movement speed is going to be way less overall. But actual just damage and attack speed and stuff, it's still going to be, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of what... at least what like 50 stacked Headhunter buffs was like before. Deadeye, your hits cannot be evaded. 50% increased damage. Supposedly either Deadeye or some other thing actually was basically Resolute Technique. Your hits cannot crit, but I don't see that anywhere on here, and that was a big point of contention. If one of the Headhunter buffs is actually Resolute Technique, that would be a serious problem, but for the time being, I'm guessing that's not the case. 60% less damage taken if you've not been hit recently? What? 200% increased evasion if you have been hit recently? Good lord. Bombardier. Okay, now I am obviously going to miss +2 projectiles that stacks up infinitely. There were a lot of times when I got a ton of Headhunter buffs, and I'm basically shooting like 50 projectiles at a 360 point. And yeah, those days are gone, for sure. But Bombardier with one tier gives an extra 5 projectiles, and skills chain 2 times additional. That's pretty big. Projectiles can change when colliding with terrain. Okay, that's a huge buff to Raider over Deadeye again, because Deadeye's already had Ricochet, which is very good for Tornado Shot and maps, but I couldn't get it. And also a free Far Shot as well, at least as far as additive damage. So Bombardier is one of the best for Tornado Shot that you can get. Flame Weaver, okay, this is Fire's version there. So we were already at 350%. So with an extra Cold, Fire, and Lightning here at the bottom tier of Arch Nemesis buffs, we're now looking at 500% Fizz's extra elemental damage, at least. Now, I'm not even finished here, but I think that might be it. Let's keep going. Okay, Incendiary. reduced ignite duration on you 80%. Okay, I mean that's all right, I guess. All damage can ignite. It doesn't look all that good, honestly. Arcane buffer. Faster start of energy recharge. I mean, it's not going to mean anything for me, but for some people it will. 40% max life is added to maximum energy. Okay, that's nice. Give me a little bit of max energy shield. Sure. Chaos damage does not bypass energy shield. All right, that's good. Echoist. Okay, here's a big one. It didn't occur to me what Echoist did in as an Arch Nemesis modifier. 200% increased attack speed. 200% increased cast speed. Good God, that's insane. That's like what is that? Is that like 2,000% increased onslaught effect or some crazy I think that's what that is. 2,000% increased onslaught effect. What in the world? Skills repeat an additional 2 times. Now I know how powerful this is already because I have clicked an Echo Shrine before, where skills repeat an additional 1 times. It's already insane. It almost breaks the game. Like people were talking about, oh, they're doing this because they want to decrease server load. My friend's Echoist is going to break the server. If I got Echoing Shrine plus Echoist, that would be skills repeat an additional 3 times. Or maybe it's multiplicative. It's actually skills repeat an additional 6 times. It should be absolutely bananas. All right. Stormweaver. So that's one of the remaining physical. It's extra lightning. Then we got Dynamo. Okay, that's another one that's not super amazing, but, immune to shock. Skills always shock. Okay, nice. Bone Breaker. Here we go. 60% increased damage, straight up. Reduced attack speed and cast speed. I'm not sure if that's... Oh, okay, so here it is. All right, I actually missed this before last time I looked. Okay, so this is the one that's really bad. And I'm not sure... I really hope they pull this out because I don't want to have resolute technique. But it does... Honestly, it kind of makes sense that they might leave that in because we already have Shroud Walker as a major issue to deal with. I could see them leaving in Bonebreaker to kind of screw over a lot of builds that rely on crit to make Headhunter have a massive downside. So if we have Shroud Walker and Resolute Technique, that's going to suck. But I don't think it's going to ultimately shatter the value of Headhunter for this. I don't know. It remains to be seen, but... I am hoping that they don't let that one go in. Bloodletter, I think there's going to be a huge uproar if they let Resolute Technique stay in the game, but that is something to keep in mind. Bloodletter, okay, for bleeding, 30% reduced movement speed. I feel like some of these modifiers are for the enemies, because that doesn't really make sense that you reduce your own movement speed. So presumably... anything that you bleed gets 30% reduced movement speed, like maimed or something. Anyway, okay, steel infused, crazy overwhelmed there. Increased global physical damage. Yeah, that still affects me. Physical damage 50% physical damage reduction. What? Okay, cannot be stunned. Gargantuan. Okay, here we go. Another one. We are not seeing all that many percent increased lives here, but this is a monstrous one. Okay, it's a gargantuan one. 60% increased life is crazy. Increased area of effect, 100%. I actually didn't see that before. And another additive damage there. Berserker, another one with movement speed. Now, Berserker is not up 100% of the time. Just look at the numbers on this, though. Good God. I mean, that is so crazy. The actual numbers on that. But supposedly this is like a sort of periodic buff. Like you don't have this buff 100% of the time while you have the Arch Nemesis thing. At any rate, Sentinel blocks attacks and spells. What, like 100%? Who knows? Probably not, since it also gives max block chance. Juggernaut. Now here is one I'm liking this. I'm really liking this. So Juggernaut cannot be stunned. Action speed cannot be modified below the base value. Movement speed cannot be modified below base. So this is literally the Juggernaut ascendancy on your character. And say goodbye to Grasping Vines completely and hit in the hands on Delirium. Anything that would ever slow you down is not going to slow you down anymore. So That is so gangster if that actually makes it through to the end game, because just being completely unstoppable in maps. I'll go ahead and take Resolute Technique if they're going to give me Juggernaut. Freaking. By the way, what is it? How much? Oh, no increased speed, but +3 to maximum endurance charges. What, man? Putting Duresso's Defiance on the map even more. I'll go all the way up to 7 max endurance charges with that. Wow. Okay, Vampiric. Here we go. Damage leeches life. 40% damage while leeching. Enemies cannot leech anything from you. Okay, not that great. Overcharge. +3 to maximum all charges. This is actually kind of game breaking at this point. So now we're looking at +6 maximum endurance charge and +3 frenzy, +3 power charge. I feel like that is actually starting to break the game. And now this is making me super stoked for how I do the whole Duresso's Defiance and Mortal Call setup and dynamic there. Because if I got 10 endurance charges, my Immortal Call is going to last a long time. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage reduction. Anyway, Soul Conduit. Okay, I don't know what that means, really. Opulent. Presumably this is not going to affect us in any way, shape, or form. Malediction. Okay, this is obviously to the monsters. 50% increased damage taken. 50%? 50%? That's like half the value of Omniscience for somebody who's not stacking the build. What? Okay. Consecrate. Tor. Immune to elemental ailments. All right. That doesn't really mean anything. And then Frenzied. Oh, wait a minute. I might have been mistaken here when I talk about Berserker. Oh, monster enrages as it loses life. Okay, so you got to be losing life to get Berserker. And then Frenzied, it says periodic. Okay, so I confused Berserker and Frenzied for a moment there. This is the one that is very periodic, but I'm pretty sure it's a really massive movement speed, attack speed buff. So one of the biggest takeaways from this is there's a whole lot of really unique bonuses that were not in before, especially the thing about power charges and physical damage reductions. That stuff seems completely off the chain on this here. But there are some things that are much worse, like nowhere near as much percent life increase, energy shield increases, movement speed. However, it looks like attack speed is going to be crazy high, maybe even higher than it was before. But again, movement speed is not. So what this means for me is that having a character with a default fast movement speed is going to be more important than ever, because you can't so much rely on the Headhunter to just make you automatically go from like a crawling pace to just flying through the map. Also, shrines again. Okay, I always talk about shrines, but final thoughts on this whole thing. I probably should have mentioned this in part 2 of my opinion, but honest final thoughts, I'm not that worried about this. Like, even if Headhunter was just straight up ripped out of the game, I already mentioned this before. Like, on my video about how I got a Headhunter, I actually said in there, and I'm paraphrasing myself, I already felt like I had a Headhunter before I even had one this past league because of how insane shrines were. Especially like a major acceleration shrine. Like a major acceleration shrine, which you can get somewhat reliably if you go domination with like +4 shrines or whatever on the map, and then get 2 shrine effects for each shrine. That is increasing my attack speed and movement speed like more than what 50 Headhunter buffs would usually do. And much more reliably, like the buffs don't expire instantly, or like after 10 or 20 seconds. So this, if anything, feels even better for me. Like on a personal level, I feel like I'm going to do even better this league, respective to what other people are trying to mess with and trying to wrap their head around with. So again, I think this is going to be an even bigger shrine league than it was last year, or last league. And Headhunter, I think it's going to be majorly nerfed for 5-way farming, minorly nerfed for people who were doing what I was doing, and then kind of in a tie to a slight buff for people who are kind of not running, are running kind of a poor man's build, but happen to have a Headhunter, so they're not really all that fast, but the Headhunter is also carrying them a little bit. I think it's going to carry those people even more than it was. So honestly, I think it's a good change. Like if you would have just told me, here's what's going to happen to Headhunter. It's going to be way worse for 5-way farmers. It's going to be better for casuals. I'd be like, all right, that's actually probably healthy for the game. Honestly, I think Headhunter was a little too ridiculous. I can be objective about my own my own situation here. I like having the Mario star power that Headhunter gives, but honestly, take a step back, look at it objectively. It's kind of making a joke out of the content out of the game. It's a little bit too ridiculous. And changing it in a way that makes it less of a joke, but maybe more interesting in other ways, like with max charges and stuff. I don't know. It does actually allow for new new game-breaking kind of builds to potentially arise and gives us something to think about, especially on a season where no changes were made. Clearly some changes were made for anyone who is using a Headhunter. So that's all I got on this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and tell me what your thoughts are, because I definitely want to hear what your thoughts are on the Headhunter. I know a lot of people are thinking a lot of different things, and I'm getting information from you guys. I'm not like consulting some pro-level people about this. I'm just talking to regular people. I'm finding out different new things from just regular people on the internet. So absolutely, you guys, please let me know if you found any key information on this. And this video again is going to be kind of time capsule because the information is changing like on a daily basis. Tomorrow GGG could release the entire list of Arch Nemesis modifiers and their exact stats for all I know. But again, this video is coming to a close, so you guys take care. Keep studying those, practicing those builds you're working on, and have some faith in Headhunter. I think it's going to be okay. Yeah, bye for now.